Welcome students, this is Vishal Pandey and I welcome you all in my online class. So basically, as you all are aware that I have taken the British administrative structures in India, and today I am going to brief you more on Regulating Act. I had already explained in my previous lecture, in my previous video, that how had Regulating Act worked from 1773 onwards. Let us understand what were the procedures, what were the details about Regulating Act, which is very interesting you to understand. Let us have a look upon the three presidencies of that time, what it means 1773, the Regulating Act itself. And I had told you, as I had told you in previous lectures, that there were three presidencies altogether. This is the map of India, as you can see on the screen. This is the Bengal presidency, which was leading from the front, and the Governor General of Bengal was playing the role of cynosure. And the second one was Bombay presidency. It was under the guardianship of Bengal presidency, and the last is Madras presidency, which was also under the guardianship of Bengal presidency. So Bengal was leading from the front and the Governor General of Bengal was looking after these two. All right, so let us move to another slide to understand the things more genuinely. So children, as I had told you that Bengal presidency and the Governor General of Bengal was leading from the front, in that sense Madras Governor and Bombay Governor, the presidency of Bombay, they were under the guardianship of Bengal presidency. And what is the difference between these three, you have to understand, is there was one executive council to whom the Bengal presidency have to report to executive councils. In other words, you can understand that these two presidencies were reporting to Bengal presidency, and then Bengal presidency was reporting to executive council. The executive council was responsible for the maintenance of all the regulation which is there in Regulating Act itself. Have a brief introduction of the company's control over the structure of Regulating Act. When we talk about the control of company, that is the East India Company itself. East India Company, as I had told you, that from 1773 the Regulating Act passed and the three Governor Generals were introduced in the nation itself. And then if you talk about the control of company, that is the East India Company, the control of company was divided in two ways. The first was commercially and the second was politically. The commercial and political. The commercial and political control was in the hands of court of directors. These are the court of directors in the number 24. What was the number of court of directors? They were in the number of 24. Means what? 24 members were there in the court of directors, and these court of directors were looking after commercial and political circumstances of the East India Company. So this, you have to keep this in your mind. And these court of directors was sitting in England and they were dominating from England itself. They were taking the control of commercial and political purposes in India through East India Company. As you can see in this slide, the administration of East India Company, if we talk about that, how they were performing their action. So Bengal presidency in the center, you can see, and Madras and Bombay as they are following Governor General of Bengal itself. But if you talk about the administration, which is very important, the system through which you govern on somebody, that is the executive councils. As I told you earlier, these executive councils were playing an important role to maintain the administration system of East India Company in India. If we talk about revenue, children, revenue means the collection of taxes from different parts through which the company governs, and the taxes and the revenues were also exported to the British Empire because altogether the colonization, because Britishers came here as a trader and they established themselves, and they used to take the collection, the revenue in the different categories. As you can see, they used to take commercial trade, the tax, and then the revenue generated from territorial possessions. Means what? They used to take money in terms of taxes like salt tax and all, and they used to take taxes from the different kings and the different nawabs, because they were also, they had also occupied some different territories as well. Among them, salt tax was more prominent. Let us understand salt tax in the next slide. You can see salt tax. This tax was very important from the ancient time as well, because for the first time this tax was implemented by Chandragupta Maurya. Can you imagine this? Do you know this, that the tax which was broken by Mahatma Gandhi in the civil disobedience movement at the Dandi March, it was broken by him, and initially it was started by Chandragupta Maurya, which was also called as Lavanandaksha. So it was also called Lavanandaksha. So initially it was started by Chandragupta Maurya, and then it was continued by Mughals, and later on Britishers as well. So it was finally, you can say that the law of salt was broken at Dandi. The great man, the father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi itself broke this law, and each and every Indian today can get salt in an easy way. So this was a regulating act altogether. In the next video, we will be discussing that how regulating act failed. Yes, children, because in spite of all these activities, regulating act was not a successful act. Why it failed? We will discuss it, and when it failed, which act came on? The Pitt's India Act came upon in 1784. So we will be discussing in the next chapter, in the next topic, especially Pitt's India Act. Till then, watch this video and try to understand the length and breadth of regulating act.